Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to an all-new weekly art challenge review video. I'm your host, BJ Dell. Thanks for tuning in, and if you're new to the channel, here's how these videos work. I do one every week. At the end of the video, I give you guys a weekly art challenge word that you draw a design based on, then you post that online. If you want to take part in these, I will tell you how at the end of the video and where to post your art. But then I do a video the following week, hand selecting a few designs and doing a review video based on those. So last week's word was shrunken head. So let's see what you guys came up with, but also stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to announce the winners for the Debbie Does Donuts challenge. So keep watching. Alright guys, let's go ahead and jump into the video, and I've said this before if you guys are new to the channel though, for these submissions, I don't necessarily pick the best ones of the week for the video, I don't necessarily pick the worst ones of the week, I just pick the ones that have something that stand out that I can use as kind of a teaching tool for these videos. That being said too, I also try to switch it up and I don't pick the same people week in and week out, so that gives kind of everybody a fair chance to be seen. So let's start first with Simon and Simon's Shrunken Head submission. So this one is really cool. There's a lot going on. I love the colors to this. We've got, of course, kind of the witch doctor character here in the front holding the different heads. And one thing that really kind of stands out here is something like this. When you have these multiple heads, I like that each of them kind of has their own personality. They all look different from the one to the next to the next, and I think that's really good for a design choice. I also love too just how everything is, you know, really bright and vibrant here. You've got bright and vibrant colors in the back, but they definitely play off of each other, and I like how everything here is kind of faded in the back. You've got kind of like a muddy texture to kind of symbolize, you know, this forest scene that's going on here. So it's not really blurred, it's not really, you know, drawn in perfectly like the front here, and I think it just works really well to kind of draw your eye back into the scenery without taking away, you know, too much focus from the main character here. So that stands out really well, and I just love the character design too of the witch doctor here in the front. Really cool design. So a couple things we'll go over first. I know we talked about in previous videos about hand anatomy and how hard it can be sometimes. One thing that stood out here is this hand just looks a little off. We've got this, you know, kind of holding the hair here that comes up into the twine and around here. And just the way that this index finger here comes down into the hand like it does. Of course, we talked about before, just being able to throw your hand out and seeing, you know, how the anatomy of the hand works. And with the knuckle here coming back down into this inside part of the hand, just looks a little bit off. Plus we need it kind of to wrap around this vine here. So to highlight that, let's go ahead and make sure I've got my sketch brush here. Bringing this index finger here, and like I said, the way that's going to wrap around almost this vine, you're going to have, you know, the thumb come down here, the vine's going to come out here, the thumb back and around here, or you could have it, you know, curving in towards here. But I want to make sure that that index finger doesn't come down, that knuckle stays out of that bottom, almost reaching to the wrist, and you'll see that it should come down and be part of the thumb there. So, you know, bringing that out and around. Let's erase this a little bit more here. So bringing that out like this and then into the thumb here. You'll see that's going to look a lot more anatomically correct. It just looks a little bit off the way that that is there. Another thing with anatomy to consider too is when you start to use, you know, clothing and everything like that, just make sure that you see what's underneath. So for example here, I'm going to switch to this blue. We can see that you've got the shoulder kind of right here. So we've got the shoulder and the arm coming down like this, which means that, you know, his shoulders would be right here, which means this neck is just absolutely massive if we remove this clothing. So to kind of be able to see a little bit closer to proportion wise, I would have the shoulder be up here. This is gonna be a lot more anatomically correct. So this, you know, shoulder would be kind of here. You can't see it, but you can see this comes over here. So instead of having this up and coming down like this, this would, you know, kind of be stretched here, and it's gonna look a lot better rather than having that shoulder cut off right there. So that's another thing too, just stay in tune with the proportions and anatomy. And the other thing too, when you're doing, you know, the clothing, this kind of squiggly line here to represent the folds can be addressed a little bit better, and we'll go over that. I know I haven't talked a lot about doing folds in clothing on the channel so far, so this gives a good kind of example what can be done. So we'll just erase that part in there. And then if we bring this down and just kind of, instead of like these squiggly lines, just be a little bit more straight with them here. You can even, you know, pull this in and down. And then to bring in some extra folds, you can pull the line down and around like that, so it shows that the material kind of has a little bit of an extra crease to it. There's some extra folds coming in like that. And it's just going to make it a little bit more believable. Same thing here. I think this could be done a little bit better just by bringing in some harder lines here and around. Also with here, you're going to have the line weight to where it's going to show the shadows there. Same thing here. Just make it look a little bit more like this is folded across rather than just kind of bunched up together. I think that would make the folds a little bit more believable and add a little bit more to the design. But a fantastic job, Simon. Love seeing that one this week, so thanks so much for submitting that. Next up, we've got Ivan, and Ivan's got this awesome looking shrunken head. Love just the minimalist design. I know Ivan said he was going to add colors to it and decided to say screw it, just going to do the black and white with the shades of gray and then the red on the tongue, which I love the way the red's done too, that you've got some opacity here to where you can see that line underneath. I think that is really cool. Love the character design itself. The eyes are just super expressive, and you know, the way the tongue comes out is just super well done. A couple things here. We've got solid black on the eyes, solid black on the hair. And you probably could have gone in and just actually added some highlights in there just with white. And this is something, I know I've talked about it before in a previous video that I did on Patreon exclusive, but I haven't talked about it on the channel itself. And that's using the select tool up here. You can add in some really kind of sharp ways to do highlights in hair. This is what I choose to use to get the kind of comic book feel, and you'll see why here in a second. Let me switch the color to white here so we can fill in. So let's do that. Maybe. There we go. Come on. I'll just select it there. All right, and we're going to use that selection tool. And you'll see why I do this, just because you can get some really sharp lines out of this. So let's just do this and just bring in these really kind of jagged lines. And then we're just going to drop white in there. And you'll see that gives you a really kind of comic book way of doing hair highlights. And we're just using white, so it's nothing too crazy. But you can get these really close together, and it gives just a really sharp comic book feel to it. You'll see it's a really nice way to add highlights in there. We're just adding white, so it's not, you know, anything too fancy or too crazy, but it just adds a little bit more kind of pizzazz to the hair instead of being that solid black, and just adds in a little bit more interesting features to the design. You can, you know, choose exactly where you're going to put it. You can see that just kind of brings out just a little bit more to the design. So give that a try next time, but fantastic job, Ivan. Next up is Scott, and let me get the selection tool off of here. And I know Scott did this one and then posted a digital version of it too. Personally, I love the traditional one, so I went and picked that one. Scott did this traditional, of course, on colored piece of construction paper. I think he said he stole from his grandkids. And I'm really a big fan of using different color paper in traditional work, and then using, you know, these white markers and you know, the white pens on here. I just think it has a really cool look. And of course, you can get this nice tonal values here. You can see with the shading. But with that white, it just makes everything pop. And of course, you're not going to be able to get that look and that feel on a white piece of paper because everything's already white. So it just gives you so many possibilities to do really cool highlights and really cool shading by using that white to your advantage. I think Scott did a great job. Once again, using 3 different faces here. They all have kind of a unique look. They all have their own personality, and I think that works extremely well with the design. So fantastic job on that, Scott. Next up is Viktor, and Viktor, this is just fantastic. One of my favorite ones this week, Shrunken Head's Barbershop. So this one, the design of the shrunken head is just outstanding. I love kind of the three-dimensional quality that the eyes have here with the shading, and then the highlights, it just looks real. It pops so well. And then the highlights here and the shading across the face look really cool too. When I first saw this, it kind of reminds me of like the cheesy like beachfront cafes or surf shops or like bars that you see, you know, down in Florida or California, and they sell the shirts, you know, kind of as a tourist trap type of thing. And it kind of has that feel to it. And I love when you can take the feel of something like that and, you know, first glance, you think it's one of these, you know, cheesy bar shirts from Florida that somebody got on their vacation. And then once you look closer, you know, it turns into something pretty darn funny, and it's a shrunken head rather than, you know, a surf shop. So I think this is great. The different fonts used here are just excellent. A lot of times people will try to switch it up and use too many different fonts in a design, and they don't mesh well together. And that's the thing here that he's done really well, is if you use different fonts, it's possible, just as long as you make sure that they play well together. And I think this is kind of a masterclass in fonts playing well together. It just works. It just pops. I would love to see this on a t-shirt. So I don't know if you've got any platforms that you use for that. I think this would work awesome on a t-shirt. Just works overall really well. The only thing here that I maybe would do different, because I know a lot of times in like these advertising things, and this is just, you know, personal preference that I've seen in some of these shirts or in ads or, you know, posters, is when they do this, you know, kind of quote that they're known for, or that's the play on words type of thing, is having that kind of in a italicized, almost handwritten font, so it looks more like, you know, a quote from the owner. I know that works really well, and you see it quite a bit. So I don't think this is bad down here at all, and you could leave that. But I know that that's one thing that's used a lot in, you know, this type of look. So that might be a possibility to try that out too. But just absolutely fantastic, Victor. If you decide to put this on a shirt, let me know, because I will buy one. Next up is Rachel, and I know Rachel said she is new to digital art. I think her husband got her digital art, I don't know, iPad or what it was. I don't think she mentioned exactly, but it's been using that since Christmas. And just getting into digital art, I think this is fantastic. Can't wait to see more of your work. It's just such a cool design. No, she said that she struggled with the hand down here, and after about 10 tries, just kind of gave up. So I think this is cute. I think it's more, you know, kind of says that this is supposed to be like a doll. So if you were actually going for, you know, the look of an actual girl, I think it would be easy to achieve just keeping the same kind of shape that you've got here. If you just went ahead and just did, you know, just a little thumb right there, I think that that would kind of work wonders. Even here, if you wanted to just throw in the notion of some fingers, you know, coming out there, I think that would work too. A lot of times people overthink, you know, doing the hands and want to put everything just perfect and as realistic as possible. And obviously with a design like this, that's really not necessary. So doing something like that, I think would work if you want to do something a little bit more. Love the character design of the girl, just fantastic. Same thing with the heads down here. I love those, and kind of this green essence magic, you know, whatever this is coming up is really cool. And I love how it kind of highlights and shines off her face here. One thing I would recommend is definitely pay attention to your foreground character and your background. With here, I know you're kind of going for that dark, moody vibe, but the background is just so close to, you know, the darkness of the hair and the dress here that you really lose sight of the main character. So I would lighten up that background just a little bit so it makes her pop, even if you wanted to kind of go around here with, you know, just a lighter color and have it fade into the black on the edges, so it's almost like a reverse kind of vignette around her. That might be kind of cool. Another thing too, if you're using Procreate, there are some really cool luminance brushes in here. You've got like the light pen for this kind of glow that you've got going on. And there's nothing wrong as far as the design here, just a little tip if you want to go one step extra. This glow, you can do some really cool stuff with this. If you just go in those eyes and dot a couple times, you'll see this will start to kind of go outside. And I think I'm on flare. Let's see, I want light pen. And it gives this really cool kind of glow that goes outside of the area you're in and kind of looks a little bit brighter. It adds that highlight around there. You could do almost the same thing here with her eyes, and this is going to start to kind of do that same highlight around, and it gives that nice glow to it. So play around with that. There's a lot of really cool pens and cool tools that you can use in Procreate, but fantastic job for just starting out with digital art. Love seeing this. Like I said, I cannot wait to see more of what you do. So thanks so much, Rachel. Next up is Mike, and Mike did this Shrunken Head, which is just phenomenal. Everything about this, the character design, the colors, I love the brush that was used here. You've kind of got this loose charcoal graphite look that's just awesome. And I love here too, a lot of people would get really kind of focused on the line work and making sure everything is perfect and exact. And you'll see with this, what's great is, you've got these loose lines here, the kind of goatee coming down here, the lines don't even connect. It doesn't have to. It tells you that that's a goatee. That looks really, really fantastic. Same thing, the earrings here, just those dots show you that those are earrings coming down. You don't need, the perfect line here to signify that those are the earrings coming down. So that is really cool. Same thing here at the top too, with this leaf coming down here. It doesn't all the way connect over here, and the color kind of dips below, kind of has a messy look to it, which just works so well. Just a fantastic piece. I think this was Mike's first piece too for the groups. Number one, Mike, welcome to the group. Number two, cannot wait to see more from you because this is just awesome. So that's it for Mike. Next up is Rod, and Rod's got this fantastic Shrunken Head. Love the design of the face, all the stuff that's going on here, these little beads hanging off the pieces of string that are keeping everything secured is just a really nice touch. I love the little extras that are thrown in too. You've got the, the bottles here, the poison here, the little voodoo doll here really gives you a lot to look at and makes for a really interesting design. One thing that kind of pulls me out of it, and I think would happen with most viewers, is the colors are just so much the same in between the, the head, the bottles here, and then most importantly, the background and the foreground of the table or whatever this is that's sitting on, especially using the same texture kind of down here as back here. And I think you lose quite a bit from the design. I think you can make it pop a little bit more. So a couple things, I kind of prepared this just to show you rather than taking the time to do it live on the video. So right here, I just really sloppily went in and removed the background and the foreground. You can see that it just pops a lot more. You can read the design a lot easier than with these textures kind of competing for the viewer's attention. Taking that one step further, if you wanted to have some sort of background, something like this, I love just throwing in random geometric patterns. Of course, picking the right color to make everything pop. Once again, you don't want to compete against the main focus of the design. But, this is something that's easy. If you wanted something quick and simple that you could do, that's a possibility as well. And then took that one step further, and I didn't mess with the background here, but you can see just by adding this table here in the foreground and changing it up, instead of using these textures like you have in the background, you can do this. Still keeping those textures in the background kind of works with this just because it's not competing with the textures here. It's totally, different. So it makes it pop a little bit more. If you did go with this, I would probably go ahead and lighten up or choose a different color for the background, because once again, it's just kind of blending in with the head and the hair and then this bottle here. So, not necessary to go any more in depth. It would be kind of cool though with this is to, add some shelves and make it look like a voodoo apothecary type of background would be pretty cool. I know that's pretty labor intensive, but at the same time, don't feel like you have to add a background just for the sake of adding a background. Take your time with it. And, if you even want to go simple like this, really just focus on the main design and what you need to do to make that pop. So great job, Rod. Thanks for sharing that. Next up is Steven, and this one actually came through email. I know Steven said he was still kind of apprehensive about posting in the group, but this one is just really, really good. So Steven, if you feel up to it, post in the group, because I think everybody's going to welcome you with open arms. And this one stood out to me. It really kind of reminds me, it has that old EC Comics feel, the comic company that did Tales from the Crypt comics. So just a really cool design. Love the kind of head just laying off to the side like this. And same thing with talking about with Rod's. The background here, maybe a little bit too close to the colors, especially with the halo here. You know, it kind of blends in. So if you were going to do the halo, maybe pick a different color for the background. I think that would make everything pop a little bit better. But just love the line work, has that very classic comic style, and the highlights here are just fantastic. Using that blue just sparingly around the edges here to really kind of highlight where that light source is coming in is just done super, super well. And on this one, kind of like talking before with Ivan's, I think you could even add a little bit more here to the back of the hair. So you've got the highlights here and here, but the rest of the hair really kind of has that flat look to it. So if you went in with the kind of tip that I gave on Ivan's and just use that selection tool, if you're using Procreate or, you know, most of the other art programs have it as well, but, you know, just kind of do some of these comic styling highlight sections here and not have them be full on highlights, but we could have them be the color of the skin here, so that they're not really competing for the color of the blue highlights. You know, just add some of those around too, just to kind of give the hair a little bit more texture in the parts where it's kind of just this solid mass of that black. That might be an option to kind of liven it up and give a little bit more body to that hair. But just an overall fantastic job. Love seeing that one. Thank you so much for emailing that as well. And last but not least, we've got Nathan. And Nathan went with a totally different approach to this. Said very clever. He got the kind of shrunken headed cowboy here, and do they come in pints, because you got the 10, 8, and 6 gallon hats on the wall, which just are a little too big for the cowboy. So just a fantastic job kind of playing on the idea, which is fun to see. With here, once again, just kind of pay attention to anatomy. I think you've got a really cool cartoon style, but just kind of dialing it in a little bit. So with let's go with the cowboy. Actually, let's go with the shop owner first. Drop down the opacity here. And see the way that the shoulders kind of roll down here off to the side. I really think just, you know, bringing these shoulders down and like this, kind of thinning him out, making him a little bit more just angular, works a little bit better. This kind of round rolling shoulders just looks a little bit off there. And same thing here with the cowboy itself. Just pay attention to the anatomy of the body. I think here you kind of just went a little bit overboard, trying to get too many details in, and for a basic cartoon style like this, it's not something you really need. So with here, you've got kind of the calf going back up into this back muscle here, to where actually, you know, the calf is going to kind of stop at the bend right here where the knee is. So like I said, making it a little bit more basic, I would just honestly pull these down, probably give them like a butt here, and just pull the legs straight down into the boots. It's going to look a little bit more natural. Same thing here with the shoulders, like we talked about with the shop owner, you know, just kind of making everything a little bit more angular. And same thing here with this back. You've kind of got the bottom forearm part going back and up into this top part, to where this is actually going to be the elbow coming down here. So just doing a very, you know, basic kind of V or L shape here, an L here, instead of trying to, you know, make this line come back and over top, which isn't necessary, because like I said, this top part's gonna come down to that elbow and then back in. So definitely play around with the anatomy, and like I said, just kind of simplify stuff a little bit. It'll make your life a little bit easier and make things a little bit more natural. No need to go in with all these extra lines, and just keep it really simple and get your point across, and that's really as far as you need to go. So that is it for this week in Shrunken Heads. Alright guys, that's it for this week's video. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Also, special thanks again, of course, to everyone that submitted designs this week. You guys are awesome, and I love seeing the designs every single week. So if you guys want to take part in these challenges, here's how. Basically, hop on over to Facebook, join the Keep Creating a Learn, Draw, Share art community group over there, which I will link in the description below. You can post your designs over there. If you don't have Facebook, hop on over to Twitter or Instagram, tag me at BJ Dell, or you can also email them to me. Hop on over to my website, bjdell.com. My contact form is over there. You can send them that way as well. So before we get to this week's word, we've got to announce the winners for the Debbie Does Donuts Challenge. So if you guys are new to the channel, or if you didn't tune in last week, basically, I did a logo design contest. You guys were going to pick out, if you were the client, what logo would you choose for Debbie Does Donuts. Started a Facebook album over there on the group, and you guys voted. The person with the most votes won, and then we're also selecting a winner for the person who commented the most compelling reason why they chose what submission they chose. So the winner of the Debbie Does Donuts logo challenge is Amy Alicia. Congratulations, Amy. Appreciate everybody that played along, submitted designs, and thanks for everybody that voted too. So that's Amy's logo that won. Fantastic job. Love the layout. So Amy, congratulations. An Amazon gift card is coming your way. I'll get a hold of you to receive that. And then I said also to the person with the most compelling reason of why they chose the logo that they chose was going to win too. And that goes out to Audra Landis. Audra said, as a client, I would choose this logo because of the simplicity, limited colors, and eye-catching font. Printing this logo would be easy for most color prints, and the simple design is ideal for brand recognition. Although the bold font is darker than the requested soft palette, I believe it creates movement to draw our attention to the name first and the donut second. So the things that stuck out to me, key with this, and the reason why Audra won was, number one, she mentioned brand recognition, which doing a logo, brand recognition should be in the forefront of your mind. It's something super important when you're wanting to establish the identity for a company, which a logo should do. And then also she said it draws our attention to the name first and the donut second. And I think that's a lot of times what logo artists forget is you really want to focus on the name of the company, if that's, you know, the idea behind the logo. And in this case, it really kind of was. She said she wanted donuts and other stuff in there, but you really want to make sure the name is what people see first. And I think Amy did a fantastic job on this. I think Audra did a fantastic job kind of pointing that out. So congratulations. Audra, I'm going to get a hold of you. You're going to win a signed copy of my 365 Days of Drawing Prompts sketchbook. I'm also going to personalize the inside with a little sketch too. So I'll get a hold of you, get your shipping information for that. So that's it. The other thing that Amy won was she got to select the word of the week for this week. That was the other prize. So talked to Amy, and she said for this week, she wants to do astronaut. So that's the word of the week, astronaut. Let's see what you guys can do. Like I said, post it over on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or email it to me. It's up to you. So you've got until next Tuesday to get your designs in. I do these videos every Wednesday, unless, of course, I have food poisoning and I'm on my deathbed. And then they're Thursdays. But that was this week. So next week, get them in by Tuesday. Post the new video next Wednesday. Just want to thank you guys for watching, and until next time, keep creating.